It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. Happy to be talking with you once again. It's our last regular show of Season 1. Because as I've been telling you, next week is our Season 1 finale in the form of a highlight show. So I won't be with you, actually. It's just going to be a bunch of highlights. Fun highlights. Good stuff. All the best stuff from Season 1. So that'll be fun. And then the following week, as I've been telling you, ad infinitum, but I want you to know, then we start Season 2 in our new format. And I'll explain that a little more at the end of the show. Nice show for you. We're going to first hear from Chucky Bucky. We haven't heard from him for a little while, so we got a Chucky Bucky commentary. Only the way Chucky Bucky can deliver a commentary. And then we have something very special, an impeachment trial excerpt that I guarantee you have not heard. You have not heard this particular impeachment trial excerpt that we exclusively have for you here on The Log. We have a list of vocabulary words. That used to be my favorite thing in school, was learning vocabulary words. I loved that. And so we got a nice list of vocabulary words that every American should know. And then, here's something. We don't do this very often. We have a group in the studio with us, a musical group. 4 guys with day jobs is what they call themselves. 4 guys with day jobs. 4-part harmony group. Going to talk to us about their show and perform a song for us. So, yeah, we don't do that every day. Maybe we should. Maybe we should do that every day. Bring a little more sunshine into the world. Lord, we need it. So before we get into all of that, I know you're just dying to know what I think about the impeachment trial. First of all, one of the counselors for the president, Patrick Philbin, looks just like the actor Eddie Deezen. Do you know who Eddie Deezen is? He played Eugene in the movie Grease, and then kind of made a career out of being the quintessential geek in 1980s movies. So, Patrick Philbin. So there's that. Also, when the page brings up the question, which they've been doing here the last couple days, the page brings up the little card on which the senator has written the question, hands it to the clerk, then the clerk hands it to the Chief Justice. Well, they walk very briskly, the pages do, and they walk right past this little table with like 6 glasses of water on it. And the table has very spindly legs in that kind of Washington colonial era kind of table. And every time they walked by, and there was this one young page especially, every time she walked by, she'd get way too close to it for my liking. And it drove me crazy. And not only that, when she's coming down the aisle, she's got it in her sights, all right? She can see it ahead of time. She's still too close, for my money. But when she hands the card to the clerk and then turns around, at that moment when she turns around, she is right there on top of that table. And she is like swinging around it real quick. It's all I could think about. So let me be real clear here. Right now, as I'm speaking, they have not yet taken the vote on whether or not to have witnesses. By the time you're listening to me right now, by the time, whatever time it is in your time, it might very well all be just completely over. So while I'm usually really optimistic, I'm a glass is full kind of a guy. I don't say a glass is half full. No. I say, well, it's full. Half of it's water, half of it's air. That glass is full. No, I'm usually a very optimistic guy, but I got to tell you, at this point, as I speak, it looks really bad. It looks like it's over. It looks like the fat lady is about to sing. No witnesses, and that's it. And then they'll have to go through some procedural things that I don't pretend to understand, but it's all going to be said and done in a matter of hours. And as I say, by the time you're listening to this, it may well be a done deal. So why does this matter? Well, if you're paying any attention at all, with any kind of a fair mind, you know that 75% of the American public wanted to have witnesses. They thought it was the only reasonable thing to do. And I'm guessing you agreed, and I certainly agreed with that. But I bet you're also thinking at this point, oh, God, I'm just glad it's over. Yeah, I understand that natural feeling, that temptation. But there's no getting around it. We got to look at this through the big picture lens here. Precedent matters. And we as a nation here have set precedent that is going to be really tough to navigate through the next time we have a little problem. One of the moments from the president's defense that I agreed with, they were listing all the presidents that would have been impeached. They listed like 40 of them. And I thought, well, yeah, you know what? They actually should have been impeached. Of course, they were making the opposite point. They're saying, well, you can just impeach any president. It makes it too easy. Well, I'm going to go on record saying it should be a lot easier to impeach a president, because maybe then they'd start behaving. Maybe then they wouldn't start secret wars, and they wouldn't lie and connive and sell weapons to Iran. Or was it the Contras? I forget which way the deal went. Yeah. So sometimes, I look at the countries with the parliamentary system and, vote of no confidence, boom, you're gone. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we need to care. And the main reason we need to care, sure, this is all fun and games, but it's not. It's not fun and games. And I guess that's the one thing I want to leave you with in my short little opinion about the impeachment. It's not trivial. I want you to care about it, because if we can't do this, we really can't do anything. We can't have a functioning democracy. And if we can't have a functioning democracy, then we can't do anything about income inequality, wealth inequality. We can't do anything about the fact that millions of people don't have health care. We can't do anything about gun violence. We can't do anything about the climate crisis. If we don't have a functioning democracy, we can't do the things that are important. So like it or not, this impeachment was important, and its outcome was important. So that's where we are. And to bring it back home here, this is our last regular show of the season. Next week we have our anniversary special, and then the following week is the beginning of year 2. It's a new year, it's 2020, and we've got to make some plans, and we got to get some things done here. Let's make 2020 a year when something happens. I'm looking at this period here where basically democracy died. It finally died. It was on its sickbed for many years. It finally just got knocked out. And we're entering a period that I believe historians many, many years from now will mark this date. Impeachment at the beginning, and then Election Day 2020 at the end. And the time in between, from February through early November, those 9 months, that 9-month period will go down in American history as one of the most consequential moments in time for this country. Because the impeachment basically marked the end of American democracy as we've known it. It's dead, it's gone. And now we have 9 months. 9 months to Election Day. And that's when quite literally a new era can begin. So yeah, I'm going to keep my optimism. The impeachment was a horror show. It was a sham. It was the final nail in democracy's coffin. But starting right now, we work harder than ever and we build toward the day, Election Day 2020, when a real democracy with representative government, imagine that, and real justice. I think it can happen. Yep, I'm staying optimistic. So let's do that together here, starting in season 2. Let's see. Let's get today's show started. And here he is, always with something to say. Our own Chucky Bucky.
How you doing? It's your old pal Chucky Bucky checking in with you. Haven't talked with you for a little while. Just thought I'd come in right here to say, I wish you the best and I hope you're doing well. I was, me, I've talked about it many times. I'm nervous about driving in my car and everything. I've got a car that's, holy gosh, it's a 2006. And I got nearly 200,000 miles on it and it's doing okay. I got to drive. I think Charles Purcell was just talking last week about not driving. I wish I could not drive, but, like most people, I got to drive. But I was thinking the other day, how come some cars are safer than others? Well, and you might think that's a really kind of stupid, ridiculous question. Well, some are better than others, right? But I guess what I'm thinking is how come? Everybody needs, if you need a car, you should be able to have a safe car. And if you don't have a safe car, well, then you're at higher risk than people who have safer cars. But the thing is, say you don't have much money. Comes down to money. I know it always does, right? So I don't have much money. I gotta buy a crummy old used car. It's all I can afford. And now it's just not as good, it's maybe doesn't get as good a gas mileage, so it's worse for the environment, and it costs me more money for repairs that need, older cars need more repairs, and they don't get a good gas mileage as others. But mostly what I'm thinking about and what I started talking about there was safety. Sure, you want to spend, $50,000 on something bigger and safer and has all the safety features like you see on this darn commercials, about the automatic, stop before you hit the kid on the bike kind of thing. Sure, or the special traction. I don't know what they call it, but it's safer in the rain or the snow, where it's the automatic traction kind of adjustments that the wheels make, and and the steering and stuff like that. So how come a person with no money should be less safe? You'd say, if you want to be safer, just buy a better car. But, some people can't do that. Well, what do you say to that? Well, it's just tough luck. How else could it be? Well, I'll tell you how else it could be is that we don't base everything on how much money you have. It's a proven fact. I could look up the numbers for you. Go ahead, Google it anytime you want. Poor people without money, they're the ones who die earlier. It's been through our entire history of, humans that life expectancy always keeps going up and up, right? Slowly but surely, we live longer. Every generation lives a little longer. Wait a minute. Up until now. Now the life expectancy is actually going down for poor people. For people who, laborers. People who do, the crummy work. The good, honest work it is. Sure, I'm not saying they're crummy people. They're doing their best and they're doing important work that needs to be done. They're up there pounding nails into the roof and, putting on the shingles and whatever they're doing. They're working in the factory line. They're doing their best. And everybody, is supposed to give them honor and respect for working hard. But they're actually living less now. Fewer years. Their life expectancy is going down. Life expectancy continues to rise for people with money. And the ones who don't have to work so gosh dang hard, don't put so much stress and strain on their bodies. They do white collar work or they do no work at all. They just sit around and collect on their investments, So I don't quite understand the argument anymore how we can't, look at money as a thing that has to just really just go away. It's one thing for a person to have, they work hard and they make lots of money. Okay, good for them. Fine. That's what the model everybody looks to. And you have success, and then you have good health care, and you can go on vacations, and your stress is lower. And, I'm not saying you got to be rich, but, you got enough money to really take care of yourself in an appropriate way. And then the people without money, like I say, they can't take care of themselves appropriately. They don't have enough any health insurance in many cases, or so many people, and you know who I'm talking about. Maybe you got health insurance, but you don't never use it, right? Because you can't afford to use it. It's still, with all the deductibles and all of that, it's too much. You don't even use it unless you absolutely have to for a big time emergency. And then even with insurance, you wind up with because of the deductibles, you wind up with medical debt. Oh goodness. So you don't even go to the doctor, because what the heck, I can't even afford it. And like I was starting to say, I interrupted myself. Sure, you work hard, you make some money, you might even believe this. Oh, you deserve to have the benefit of that. You reap the benefits of what you sow. Well, people are sowing all the time. They're working hard and not getting ahead, and they're even falling behind her all the time. And to the point now where if you don't have enough money, you are literally sick, and you live an unhealthy life, and you literally die earlier, many, many years earlier in some cases. And it's time to come up with a new system where money isn't the ruler of things. If money could be as it was intended, if it could be just the means by which we buy and sell and consume and produce things that we need, well, all well and good. But when you can't get what you need, especially in the line of, I started talking about cars and safety, and then healthcare, those two things, are the two shining examples. Could probably think of others. Things that everybody just deserves, just because they're a human being, just because they're alive on this planet, for no other reason. Everybody should have equal health care. Everybody should have an equally safe car. Everybody should have an equally good education. And to tie that to money is the craziest thing I can imagine. And if aliens came down and asked us how we ran things, and we tried to explain it to them, you go ahead. You go talk to Mr. Little Green Man Alien. Try to explain to him if you believe our system's just fine. You try to tell him, oh yeah, some people, they die early and they're sick all their lives because they can't afford it. So the little green alien's going to say, well, what the heck? Why is that the case? Oh, and you might say, oh, they don't work hard enough, so they don't get enough money. Oh my goodness, if you still believe that after all the evidence showing that that's just not the case, the relationship between work and income is just non-existent. So many people, the people who make the most money, do the least amount of work. You got enough to make investments. Make your money work for you. Oh, come on, right? That's just crazy. Money doesn't work for you. No. People make things, and people make the economy, and then people produce things, they create wealth, and then the money, the fake stuff, that this crazy idea of money gets distributed in such a way that it's totally unfair and it's unjust. And now we got this world where got the haves and the have-nots, and the have-nots, it's not their fault at all. They should be safe in their car. Their kids should be educated. They should have their health care, just because, like I said, just because they're alive and they're people. Okay, so I don't care what side of the spectrum you're on. I don't care what you believe. You got to agree that that's the case. That's the case currently. That's the world we live in. We got haves and have-nots. And if you're just going to point to the have-nots and blame them for not working hard, well, then you're just dead wrong. You're just a big old dope, and you don't know what you're talking about. Just look at the goddamn numbers, and you'll see that it's true. So I'm not saying I got every answer in the world on how to fix things. I got some ideas. Sure, we all do. but I'm telling you, they can't be what we got now. No, and just it can't be. You can't be okay with the status quo. If you're okay with the status quo, especially as it regards money and the inequality of wealth and income, and the inequality of outcomes, health, safety, proper nutrition, housing, education, healthcare. If you are okay with all of that, I don't even know what to say to you. You're like the worst of the deplorables. You don't have to agree with me on the solutions, but you better darn well agree with me of the problem, okay? So, anyway, there you go. I didn't mean to get all, got a little excited there, but that's what happens when this subject comes up. So anyway, here's your old pal, Chucky Bucky, wishing you all the best, and I hope you're well, and you take care until I talk to you again. All right, then.
It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. And now, an exclusive excerpt. Nobody else has this. It's a Log exclusive excerpt of the impeachment trial.
Chief Justice, members of the Senate, my esteemed colleagues on the other side of the dais, I submit to you, if it looks like a duck, if it walks like a duck, if it quacks like a duck, then it most certainly is, undeniably, incontrovertibly, a duck. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, what we have here is a duck.
Thank you, Representative Schiff. Mr. Sekulow.
I mean, come on. Seriously? You're kidding me right now. Come on. He didn't do it, okay? He didn't do it. He didn't do anything. Everything is perfect. He did nothing wrong. He's the perfect president. America is great. USA, USA, USA. And even if he did do something wrong, let's just say for argument, he did it all. Just for sake of argument, let's say he did everything that the House managers say he did. Even if he did, it's not impeachable. It's not a crime. They just hate him. They've always hated him. The most perfect president in American history. And they just can't stand it. High crimes and misdemeanors. That's the language that the founders gave us. So what's a high crime? Well, they never told us that. They didn't know, so you can't know. We don't know. Are we even here? You know, because of the space between atoms and molecules, you're actually more space than matter. You know that, right? You're not even here. How do you know we're not in a matrix? A lot of people say we are. Elon Musk says we are. So are we even here? So how can we even decide if we're not even sure we're here? But it really comes down to this. I'm not going to go back over all the evidence and all the lack of evidence. By the way, they have no evidence. Of course, they want to bring in evidence, but they don't have the right to do that. They can't call witnesses or subpoena documents. Executive privilege. They have no evidence, and the evidence they have is inadmissible. Because who really knows in the end? We can't really know. This is not a science. The act of impeachment, the act of politics itself, is more art than science. Well, art is art, isn't it? Still, on the other hand, water is water, and east is east, and west is west. And if you take cranberries and stew them like applesauce, they taste much more like prunes than rhubarb does. These facts cannot be argued. What's more, we're rubber and you're glue. Your arguments bounce off us and stick to you. You're the liars. You're the partisans. You hate America. You hate the voters. We're rubber and you, Mr. Schiff, Mr. Nadler, Ms. Lofgren, Mr. Jeffries, are glue. And so even if we accept your case that the president pressured a foreign leader for the sole benefit of his own political and personal gain, well, in the wise words of Mick Mulvaney, get over it. That's just the way things are. And what about the Bidens? What about crooked Hillary? What about Obama and that tan suit? I mean, come on. Can we get serious here for a moment? It never happened. And even if it did happen, it doesn't matter. And in the end, who's to know what happened or what didn't happen? We can never know. Again, Elon Musk, the Matrix. And what about Bill Clinton? You've heard that virtually every constitutional scholar in America agrees with the prosecution's case. Well, we found Alan Dershowitz, the one scholar in America who agrees with us. That's pretty good, don't you think? How do you think we found him? Points for us. That is, if he's really here. We're all looking at him. He's sitting right there. But is he there? You can't really know that for sure. Maybe you see him, but you don't know what other people see. You can't see through someone else's eyes. Reality is perceived individually. My suit is dark blue. My tie is red. But maybe the senator sitting next to you is seeing a green tie. You can't really know that. We can't know anything because perception is undefinable. I know this sounds like a lot of bullshit, but I contend, if this is shit, you must acquit. I hold in my hand what may look to you like a kitchen sink. Others may see it as a wash basin or a receptacle of some sort. You can't know. We can't know. To some of us here, it may look like the aforementioned duck. Proof positive that their argument holds no water. Just like the down of a duck. But for the sake of argument, let's say this is a kitchen sink. So with this kitchen sink, let me just now conclude with thank you.
The majority leader is recognized.
Mr. Chief Justice, I ask unanimous consent the trial adjourned and that this order also constitute the adjournment of the Senate.
Without objection, so ordered. The Senate is adjourned.
As a public service, here now a list of vocabulary words that every American should know. First word, trumpery. Trumpery derives from the Middle English trompery and ultimately from the Middle French tromper, meaning to deceive. Noun, plural trumperies. Something without use or value, rubbish, trash, worthless finery, nonsense, twaddle. His usual conversation is pure trumpery. Used as an adjective, of little or no value, trifling, worthless, trashy. Next vocabulary word, tin horn. A contemptible person, especially one pretending to have money, influence, or ability. Someone who pretends to be important but actually has little money, influence, or skill. Tin horn gamblers tended to make up for the poor quality of their gaming equipment by a dressy appearance and showy demeanor. In truth, they belonged with the keepers of cheap saloons and three-card trick men, down near the bottom of the social pyramid. Next, despot. A ruler or other person who holds absolute power, typically one who exercises it in a cruel or oppressive way. Dictator. A leader who holds an extraordinary amount of personal power. Dictatorships are often characterized by some of the following: suspension of elections and civil liberties, proclamation of a state of emergency, rule by decree, repression of political opponents, not abiding by the rule of law, and cult of personality. Tyrant. An absolute ruler, unrestrained by law, or one who has usurped legitimate sovereignty. Often portrayed as cruel, tyrants may defend their position by oppressive means. The original Greek term meant an absolute sovereign who came to power without constitutional right. Sycophant. A servile, self-seeking flatterer. Synonyms: apple polisher, bootlicker, brown-noser, fawner, flunky, lick-spittle, suck-up, and toady. Kakistocracy. A system of government that is run by the worst, least qualified, and/or most unscrupulous citizens. The word was coined as early as the 17th century, but gained significant use in the first decade of the 20th century to criticize populist governments emerging in different democracies around the world. The word is derived from two Greek words, kakistos, worst, and kratos, rule, with a literal meaning of government by the worst people. Kleptocracy, a government ruled by corrupt politicians who use their political power to receive kickbacks, bribes, and special favors at the expense of the populace, or simply direct state resources to themselves, relatives, or associates. Kleptocrats may use political leverage to pass laws that enrich them or their constituents, and they usually circumvent the rule of law. Oligarchy, from the Greek oligos, meaning few, and archo, meaning to rule or to command. Oligarchy is a form of power structure in which power rests with a small number of people. These people may be distinguished by nobility, wealth, education, or corporate, religious, political, or military control. Plutocracy, a society that is ruled or controlled by people of great wealth or income. The first known use of the term in English dates from 1631. Unlike systems such as democracy, socialism, or anarchism, plutocracy is not rooted in an established political philosophy. The term plutocracy is generally used as a pejorative to describe or warn against an undesirable condition. Meritocracy, government, or the holding of power by people selected on the basis of their ability, a ruling or influential class of educated or skilled people. And our last vocabulary word for today, democracy, government by the people, a government in which the supreme power is vested in the people and exercised by them, directly or indirectly, through a system of representation, through free and fair elections. As a public service, this has been a list of vocabulary words and their definitions, words that all Americans should understand well. It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. And in studio with me now, a group that's been, making a name for itself now for, how long have you guys been together? 18 years? Did you tell me? Off mic?
That's right, 18 years.
It's Dan, Rick, Andy, and Andy, known collectively as Four Guys with Day Jobs.
Hello.
Four Guys with Day Jobs. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Hello, radio.
So I understand we have to be kind of quick about this. You don't have too much time. You're all on your lunch hours.
yeah, that's right. My boss
That's
is a bitch.
So that's not just a clever name. The Four Guys with Day Jobs. You actually do have day jobs.
That's how we came up with the name. We're four guys with day jobs. Yep. We're not even eating today.
Let's start here with Dan. You're the founder of the group, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Dan, tell us a little bit about the group, and then we'll meet the other guys. What do we see when we come to one of your shows, Four Guys with Day Jobs?
Well, we're a musical review, and we center mostly on pop of the 1950s, kind of pre-rock and roll, good time, 4-part harmony songs. and a lot of banter and silliness and, comedy and lots of props and things. And it's a fun show. And we've been doing this, as you say, now for the last 18 years.
Great. Well, Dan, why don't you go ahead and introduce us to the other guys?
All right. Well, this is Rick. He's our bass.
Hey, Rick.
Hello.
And then Andy, our second tenor, who was an original member, goes all the way back 18 years.
Oh, I'm not that old. I can't believe you're giving away my age. 18 years. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm an original member. 18 years.
So, Rick, you're not a... how long have you been with the group, Rick?
10 years.
Okay. And next then is...
Next is another Andy. We got two Andys. It can be a little confusing, but
kind of confusing.
it's not, we make jokes about it. It's part of the comedy in the show, like I'll say, hey, Andy, come here, help me with this big heavy prop to carry it. And then the other Andy will come over and I go, not this, Andy. And it's, we got a lot of fun with that sort of
It's
thing.
not that funny.
So this is Andy, and he's our first tenor. And he's our newest member of the group. He's been with us, Andy, how long? About 3 months.
Feels like 3 years.
Yeah, about 3 months. We've done just a couple shows together.
So I saw your show the other night. It was really... I saw your show, and
Thank you.
I noticed that each one of you had kind of a persona that you act out in the show. Now, you tell me if I've got this right. It looks like Rick, the bass of the group, you seem to be kind of the dumb character.
Yes, that's right.
He's the one who doesn't get things, right, Dan?
Yeah, you caught that. Yeah, Rick is the dumb guy. Rick is the dumb guy. And then Andy, of course, is the funny
Gay one.
He's the funny guy.
Oh, right. Funny.
I'm supposed to say that.
And is that true in when you guys are just together outside the show? Or are you the funny guy?
So I'm funny to you in some way? Is that it? So I'm funny to you? What's funny about me? That's my little Joe Pesci, from Goodfellas. I just love that movie.
He talks about it all the time.
It's the best, and it's funny, and yes, I'm a funny person. Just look at me. Funny, funny, funny.
All right.
All
Okay,
the time.
turn it off.
I'm so funny.
Turn it
Of
off.
course, I couldn't be the cute one or the boss like you are, Dan.
What? Okay.
So I'll be the
We're gonna
funny
get
one.
into this now? And then I didn't quite get the newest Andy.
Well, of course, he's the fat guy. You may have noticed we have a lot of fat jokes.
I'm the fat guy.
The chair breaks and gets winded, and he's always eating something or talking about food and making fat jokes about himself, and we make fat jokes about him. And
I don't know. Is that the kind of thing you want to do in this modern age here? I mean,
We've told him it's not right.
some might call that fat shaming.
Dan,
oh no, this is just good, clean fun.
we've had this discussion.
And again, we go back to a different time.
yeah,
an
before
innocent
there was
time,
such a thing as shame.
sort of mid 50s fun.
Yeah, it's not that funny, man.
There were no
Yeah, we
problems.
need to have
and
a group
just-
meeting, I think, after this.
We have a clean cut kind of persona. You notice there was no off color humor at all.
And it's really about the music more than anything.
yes.
Yes, that's right. It's mostly about the music.
Absolutely.
The patter and the comedy are to keep everybody interested and keep it moving along and to add
Yes,
a little
that's
variety. But it's really about the music.
Music.
Yeah, and you guys, you sound great.
Thank you.
Like you said, a lot of old kind of 50s hits.
Oh, sure. Nat King Cole and
Dean Martin
Perry
and
Como
the Ink Spots.
songs that those kind of fellas would do. Things like
Chances are, 'cause I wear a silly grin. Guys,
you
stop. I'm sorry, we don't have the rights.
Chances are you
No, stop. We don't have the rights to that song. We're gonna have you do a song before you leave, and
Sorry.
we do have to get. You guys have to get back to work, right?
Yep, we're four guys with day jobs.
That's us, all right.
Oh, I didn't ask you. What are your jobs, by the way, Dan?
Oh, I'm an Uber and Lyft driver and
Troublemaker.
Grubhub and DoorDash and whatever else I can cobble together.
Oh, wow. Okay. And Rick?
I'm a dentist.
He's a very good dentist.
Yeah, Andy?
Well, I'm a church organist and choir director, and I just love it, and it's great. Very talented.
And Andy too?
Very talented.
Insurance adjuster is what I'm an insurance adjuster.
He handles all my
Okay.
insurance.
All right. So, what kind of places do you perform?
Everywhere.
Little theaters, and we do private functions, anniversaries,
We've been
and birthday
everywhere,
parties
man.
and corporate
We've
shows.
been
And we just did a
everywhere.
couple up in Oostburg and Hingham. They
yes.
love us
All
up
the way
there
up
in
to
Hingham.
Appleton
and of course down here too.
Oh,
we
sure.
get around.
Lake Geneva.
Elderly. What do you call them? nursing homes,
Assisted-
assisted living
old folks' homes.
facilities. They love us there too.
Do you worry that your audience is dying off? I mean,
Well, it's funny you say that. We are thinking about adding some songs from the 60s, maybe even up into the 70s.
Disco.
Because, right, as you say, our audience is dying.
Remember
quite
that
literally.
one old fella right in the front row? I swear to God.
Yeah, we did. We had that one guy die.
Fell right into our choreography.
Right in the. Well, we
It
shouldn't be
was-
laughing about it. Of
No, we
course,
shouldn't laugh.
Yeah,
course
on
not.
average, we'll have somebody in the audience die.
Yep. Whoa.
It's happened. Well, a couple times a year it'll
That's
happen.
definitely happened.
talking with Dan, Rick, Andy, and Andy, musical group, 4 guys with day jobs, and their musical comedy review together now 18 years as a group.
Yeah.
So you got a song prepared for us? I've got a piano here if you need that.
Oh no, our piano player is at work today.
His boss
he
is,
couldn't get off.
not into this
So
stuff.
we're just going to do an a cappella song for you. We do some a cappella in the show anyway. This song is designed as an a cappella song, and there's something a little special you want to know about this song. We're starting to do a few originals we've written together.
Oh, well, that is interesting.
Yeah, this is it's still in the style that everybody's familiar with, that we're known for. Mid-50s 4-part harmony pop kind of style, but taking on some contemporary issues. So we thought in the Me Too era,
You thought.
we would do kind of a Me Too kind of a song.
I don't know if we thought. You thought.
Okay. All right. So whenever you're ready, hit it, boys. It's the 4 guys with day jobs. Here they are.
I know that you want to come home with me, so come on and get in my car. We won't do anything dangerous. We won't go too far. But if you come on along with me, we can have a really good time. So come on and forget all of the rules that your mom gave you. You can trust me. You can trust me. Yes, you can. You can trust me in my car. 'Cause we won't go to the movies, and we won't go to a bar. You can trust me, believe me, 'cause I won't do anything bad. We'll just sit and ride and look at the stars and look at the squirrels and look at the cows as we drive all through the day in my little Hyundai. Do 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 do.
So, wow.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
I didn't. That you sure about? You sure you want to go with that?
Well, yeah, it was. That's what we're doing now.
Okay, man. There they are. Dan, Rick, Andy, and Andy. 4 guys with day jobs. All right. Good luck, boys.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
All right, a quick program note. I've been reminding you the last few weeks to mark your calendar. Next week, February 8th, is our 1-year anniversary show, the final show of season 1. Full hour of highlights, just the fun stuff, the radio theater, music, poetry, fun stuff. A good hour. And then the following week, this program becomes a half-hour format, and I do my regular pontificating with the occasional radio art thrown in. And the other half hour, then, you're still getting an hour a week. The other half hour will be Charles Purcell Presents, and that is the aforementioned fun stuff. Lots of radio theater, sound collage, spoken word, good stuff. So 2 shows starting February 15th, beginning of season 2, 2 half hours, The Log and Charles Purcell Presents, with the biggest difference being that The Log will be timely, talking about current events, news of the day, and Charles Purcell Presents will be less timely and therefore longer lasting. It'll have a longer shelf life. You can listen to it again and again, enjoy it for years to come. So there's that. And also, before we go, just want to mention, American Democracy died this week. Yeah, it's official now. It's dead. American Democracy is officially dead. It's been hurting for a very long time. Even since the very beginning, since the founding in 1776, it struggled. It was an unhealthy little baby. But over time, it grew, and American democracy was a thing. Even though we struggled with it, at least we made progress throughout our history. We were kind of defined by the progress we made. The abolition of slavery, women's right to vote, trust busting, civil rights, New Deal protections, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, stuff like that. So that's what defined us. We kept getting better and better, even though we largely sucked. At least we were getting a little better with each passing year. That is until 1980, when American democracy took a serious gut punch. And we've been on a downward spiral ever since. With the election of Ronald Reagan in 1980, then, we got the deregulation, we got the war on unions, we got these immense tax breaks and subsidies for corporations and rich folks, government embracing radical Christian right as a political power, as a political partner, and it was just so successful. Ronald Reagan had such success. He spawned a whole generation of Ronald Reagans, sprinkled throughout state legislatures and governors' mansions. Then 1992 comes along. We got a Democrat in the White House, but now it's a new Democrat. It's a new Democrat, Bill Clinton. So all of the above policies, from deregulation to tax breaks and all of that, no support for unions, that all just continues unabated, especially when the 1994 midterms come along and Newt Gingrich has Bill by the short hairs, and American democracy is struggling like it's never struggled before. And by that I mean very simply, let's define this very simply. The people who govern are not listening to the will of the people at this point. That's what I mean by democracy. There's nothing complicated about this. I'm using a very simple definition here in my little closing remarks. So let's continue to examine this downward trend. Now we got 2000. Oh my God. W steals the election, loses the popular vote to Gore, takes us into permanent war, and we're there ever since, continues with the aforementioned policies regarding corporations and taxes and all of that. And again, the gap, the wide chasm between what the American people want and what the lawmakers are giving them, it just gets wider and wider, this gap. Now it's 2008. Democracy is struggling. And everybody gets their hopes up because Barack Obama is elected. And so many people perceived him as a liberal, but he was just another new Democrat like Bill Clinton. And what good he did do was short-lived. Today's lawmakers are doing everything they can to reverse it, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. What happens with the election of Barack Obama and his subsequent re-election? Well, the Christian right continues to rise as a backlash. Racists come out of the woodwork, out into the open. The right-wing deficit hawks, the so-called Tea Party, because they're labeling Obama as this great liberal socialist, which he never was. Some people loved him for being a liberal. Some people hated him for being a liberal. It caused this great divide, and he was never a liberal in the first place. And then again, just like in 1994, now it's the 2010 midterms. Oh, mercy. Now we've got self-proclaimed permanent obstruction from the House and the Senate. Nothing else is going to happen in this presidency, and American democracy continues to decline. And then the biggest gut punch of them all, 2010, Citizens United. Corporations are people, money is speech. Year by year by year by year, since 1980, the steady decline of American democracy, countered by the steady rise of the now empowered right wing, emboldened in this vicious cycle, finally and inevitably resulting in 2016, the stolen election of Donald Trump, open racism, open sexism, open white nationalism. And now that brings us to today, where as we sit here talking so pleasantly together, an unprecedented sham of an impeachment show trial by the off-the-cliff Republican Party, marking the official death of American democracy. 2020, American democracy is officially dead. It didn't die suddenly. It's been a long illness, first diagnosed in 1980. Many of us shouted in the streets at the time, "Look at what you're doing. Look at what this will lead to." And every year and every day since, we were laughed at and mocked when those of us would cry out about the death of democracy and the rise of nationalism. All through the 80s, all through the 90s, all through the O's. And now it's true. I take no pleasure in being right, but damn it, I was right. There was no other way this thing could go without radical change, which everybody was afraid of. The right wing didn't want it. The Democrats were afraid of bold change, afraid of standing up. So they just kept shuffling step by step, year by year, one little step over to the right. So democracy, American democracy is dead. It can no longer be saved. No, we're in a whole new world now. We're through the looking glass. We're in a whole new world. I am no longer talking about saving American democracy. It can't be done. It's dead. But a new democracy can happen. And that's what 2020 is going to be all about. And that's what season 2 of The Log will be all about. So it can't be saved. It can be resurrected. They're two different things. But only if it's resurrected into a world that completely rejects the status quo, with money being the centralized organizing component. 2020 will mark the death of American democracy, and it will mark the birth of a new American democracy. But it cannot happen under the old rules. Cannot happen with small little shuffle steps. But it can happen. And that's what we're going to devote 2020 to, and that's what we're going to devote the new season of The Log to. We'll get it done. So I'll see you in season 2. This episode of The Log is available right now wherever you find your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, iHeart, YouTube, and the podcast source. Enter Charles Burcell Presents in the search window. Or best yet, go to charlesburcell.com. There you'll find this and all the other series in the podcast family. Follow, comment, and contact me on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, riverwestradio.com. Theme music composed and performed by Peter Donalds. From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Burcell.